Yeah, it's been great. I've loved working at EGC. It suits my passion and my skill set. It's been fun to see how God's been at working over a long period of time in one place, well, two places, the South End and now Dorchester. But it's been such a blessing for me to be part of this team and to be having a role that makes a difference in the city, being able to invest in leaders. I really believe very passionately in our mission. So it's really not about what we do. It's about what the work of the people that we support, what they do in the church. And so I've always been like, it's not about what I do, but I want to support people to do things. I don't want to do the work, I want to help other people do the work, which is a lot of work, but that's always been how I've been wired. And then EGC's role is, as we support people do the work, we're supporting, so there's this I'm built for EGC and EGC is built for the city in order to support the work of others. And that's just been great to be involved in that for a long time. So I was assistant director from 1991 to 1999, and in 1990 I became executive director, and I've been executive director ever since. So it's been great. And one of the ways I think about it is, it's been a great ride. And when I think about ride, I think about the idea of riding waves. And sometimes you get tumbled and you eat sand and you get beat up, but you get back up again, you go out and try to find the next wave. And I think that's a good description of my last 30 years working at EGC, 30 plus, has been sort of riding the wave of what God's doing that with other people, trying to figure out how to make a difference in this setting. And it's been a blast. Yeah, I've decided a few years ago that I would retire, or I would leave EGC at this time. And I love what I do. So it's not because I'm tired, it's not because I lack energy, it's not because I don't have vision for the future, but it is because I feel like it's time to do that. So I feel like I've been able to take the center from where Doug had taken it, Doug and Judy, from here, and then take it to a new place. And it's time for somebody else with new vision to take it the next segment. I became executive director when I was roughly 40 years old. And I think if Doug had said, I'm sticking around for 10 years, I'm not sure I would have stayed. But it was my time at that thing. I think Doug was wise, and it was a good thing for us to and we worked together really well for a long time. And I feel like we have 40-something leaders at EGC, and I think it's their time. I think their vision needs to take precedent. They need to be able to make decisions and take risks and figure out, we're not riding that wave, we're riding this wave, and not necessarily rely on my judgment for things. And I think that will create new opportunity and new mistakes to be made and new adventures to be had and new ways for God to provide for a new generation of people. So those are the basic reasons. I feel like I've done what I've been called to do, and the Lord's made it clear to me that it's time. And also I feel like I want to create opportunity, not just for Stacy as a new 40-something leader, but for the people around her, for the team, and for our partners. There's a whole new generation of leadership in the city too. And it's their time. And so I have always liked being in a supporting role and helping other leaders do their thing. And so I think I can still do that without being the executive director. I think the center will be able to grow differently with different leadership, and I'll still be able to contribute to the extent that the Lord asked me to do that, and to the extent that people ask me to do that. So we'll see where that all leads. So challenges of this moment, there's a lot of challenges in the world right now. The economy, racism, war, injustice everywhere you look. But I'm super excited about Stacy's leadership and the team that we have here at the center. I'm excited about the folks that are on the board, about our partners. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun as the challenge of sort of how does EGC do its work in this city at this time in this economy, face the challenges of the world for the sake of the church stepping into the challenges of its time. In terms of sort of catching the wave of what God's doing, God's always at work. Jesus promised to build his church. Ephesians 3 talks about God's eternal purpose is to bring himself glory through the church. That's the game that we're in. That's what we're trying to coordinate or respond to. God's at work, we're trying to be used by him. He's going to do his work kind of regardless of what we do, but he chooses to use us if we choose to be useful. And so that's part of the challenge of the time too, is to connect with the unique work that God's doing, to find our unique assignment in that. It's not our job to make it all happen. It's our job to understand our role. I think the center's role is to try to understand as best we can parts of what God's doing in the city, and then get behind the people that God's working through. And there's always going to be work to do there, more work than we can possibly do. But that's the challenge, to do that in this next setting. I come to this time with mixed emotions. I'm leaving a job that I love, and in a community that I love, and I just, it's fun to get up in the morning and go to work, or get up in the morning and stay at home and work, but I love what I do. And, but I'm also excited for what's next. I feel like I'm doing the right thing in leaving. It's time. And I trust that God will lead me into what's next, and I'm excited for what that is. I don't really know what that is yet. God's going to stay at work in the city. Other people are going to be raised up and wanting to start ministries and do things, and EGC is going to be in a place to support them in what they're doing. I could name specific ministries and things, but I think that the principle of EGC continuing to press into getting behind the work that God's doing in the city, trying to understand it, trying to discern the leaders that want to partner with us and want support, and then supporting folks and really helping. You look back over EGC's history and you see a long line of people that have been influenced and been touched by it. I had a ministry partner say to me, as I look around the city, anything I scratch, I see like EGC under there. It's just helping and supporting. The theme of the fundraiser is God is faithful through generations, and I see that as the arc of God's work is steady and continuous. And God is always inviting us into that work. And so it's not so much that God looks for us and looks to be faithful to things that we think we want to do. He's faithful to his purpose throughout time, and he invites us into that purpose. As we connect to that purpose, we find God's faithfulness, because we're connecting with the things that God cares about and that God wants to do. And so that's where sort of the joy of finding God to be faithful. As we serve him, as we pursue the things he calls us into, then he's faithful because he's working those things out in his work in our lives, because we've joined him in his work. So to me, that's very exciting, that as we're doing this work and we're trying to figure out which way to run, we can find sort of God in these places, and we ride those waves of God's work, and we find God's faithfulness as we do that. And we need to empower younger leaders. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We just do it. Like let's put young people in places where they can have influence. We can listen to their sensibilities. We can work with them. Jesus calls us to make disciples. That's what disciple making is empowering younger leaders often, right? I'm excited for a new generation to sort of press into that vision, that way of being, and bringing our research, our applied research, and our systems approach, and relational connections, and just seeing how that all comes together in this next season, because it's going to be important. The church has a significant role to play, and God's working in ways that he's inviting us to join him. And if we do that, I think we'll get somewhere that'll be worth getting.